What's up, guys? It's Wednesday, and I'm recording this in class. Last time I posted a video from home, I had a day off because I was feeling pretty bad after the vaccine. Not 100% yet, TBH, but we're getting there. And today I'm going to show you two poems. The first one is called Traveling Dream by Marge. I believe her name is pronounced Percy, but it looks like Piercy. I'm not guaranteed on that. But let's take a look. I am packing to go to the airport, but somehow I am never packed. I keep remembering more things I keep forgetting. Secretly, the clock is bolting forward 10 minutes at a click instead of one. Each time I look away, it jumps. Now I remember I have to find the cats. I have 4 cats, even when I am asleep. One is on the bed and I slip her into the suitcase. One is under the sofa. I drag him out. But the tabby in the suitcase has vanished. Now my tickets have run away. Maybe the cat has my tickets. I can only find one cat. My purse has gone into hiding. Now it is time to get packed. I take the suitcase down. There is a cat in it, but no clothes. My tickets are floating in the bathtub full of water. I dry them. One cat is in my purse, but my wallet has dissolved. Tickets are still dripping. I look at the clock as it leaps forward and I see I've missed my plane. My bed is gone now. There is one cat the size of a sofa. I love it. It's almost like a children's poem, like a Shel Silverstein, but it's not. It's very serious in some ways, and that balance is great. And this is a poem that's really stuck with me for some reason, even though it's very simple. It has one thing in the title, which is dream, and I've told you a few times that a poem is kind of like a dream, that a poem can jump around, it can do things that are not always, logically transitioning from one to the next, and it's a good reminder that you can do that even if you don't say the word dream in the title. But this one really does. It's got the end. I look over and one cat is the size of a sofa. Stuff like that is pretty nice. I'm going to get to the point in a minute. I want to read another poem, and then I'll tell you what these have in common. And the thing that they have in common is going to be our lesson for the day. So if you don't mind, I'm going to jump to the other one, but we're going to look back and forth a little bit. The other poem that I chose, out of pure coincidence, it has the same word in the title, but Traveling Through the Dark by William Stafford is not related. And it's not really about the same thing either. This one you might have seen before. This one is really common in textbooks and literature books and things like that. Traveling through the dark, I found a deer dead on the edge of the Wilson River Road. It's usually best to roll them into the canyon. That road is narrow. To swerve might make more dead. By glow of the taillight, I stumbled back to the car and stood by the heap. A doe, a recent killing. She had stiffened already, almost cold. I dragged her off. She was large in the belly. My fingers touching her side brought me the reason. Her side was warm, her fawn lay there waiting, alive, still, never to be born. Beside that mountain road, I hesitated. The car aimed ahead its lowered parking lights. Under the hood purred the steady engine. I stood in the glare of the warm exhaust turning red. Around our group I could hear the wilderness listen. I thought hard for us all, I only swerving, and pushed her over the edge into the river. As I said, this is a very famous poem. Have any of you guys seen this before in a textbook or anything? No, I'm hearing, I'm not hearing anything, but I'm seeing no nods from people. You might, if you take a poetry class in college or anything like that, or maybe if you take an AP English. The thing that people mention is that it's kind of like a sonnet. We looked at a couple sonnets in here, and it's kind of like a modern version of a sonnet, a little bit longer, follows a lot of the same patterns if you look. at the details. But the story is also very, it gets a lot of attention. People think of, this sort of dilemma of like, oh, am I going to try to save this baby deer whose mother has died, and this poor, I don't know if fetus would be the right word, but this thing that's not quite born, but maybe it could be, but I don't really think it has a chance. And the guy ends up shoving it over the edge in order to save future drivers, because somebody might crash if it's still there. And so you could look at it as an ethical dilemma, but it's really not about that. It's about this sort of, emotion of the moment where the guy is feeling bad but feeling unsure, and he doesn't really think he could help them anyway. And you've got that beautiful line where it says, I stood in the glare of the warm exhaust turning red. Is it turning red because of the parking lights, which are literally red, lighting up the exhaust air? Or is he turning red out of shame and embarrassment? The warmth of the, stress is getting him hot under the collar. It's a great line. Anytime you mention a color, it just gives you visual, symbols, meaning, emotion, everything. Just say a color. It's great. But anyway, the reason why I picked these two poems is because they illustrate the thing we're going to look at today, which is, okay, let's say you write some stuff on a page. Is it a poem? Is it not a poem? How do you know? Well, one of the big differences is that in a poem, you hit enter and you make a new line. Okay, you choose where the line ends. You choose where you get that moment of white space, and you have that little pause before the next line, and you give it a big position of importance. Okay, whatever you put at the end of a line is by far the most important thing in a poem. So these guys are both really, really heavy on that, and that's why I chose it. So if you, for example, if you pick this up and you only read the last word of each line, if you pick this up and you said deer, road, canyon, dead, car, killing, cold, belly, reason, waiting, born, hesitated, lights, engine, red, listen, swerving, river. If you picked this up and read only that, just those words, nothing else, you'd pretty much get it, right? You'd pretty much get the whole story. You'd know who, what, when, where, all of it, And if you picked up this other poem and you read airport, pack, things, forgetting, you'd know what it was about, right? You'd get, yep, I got it, I understand. And if you go through the rest, you would see all the key stuff is in the last word of the line. Okay, so I really want to focus on that. If you have a big blob and you kind of wrote a sort of paragraph where everything ran together, and you want to turn it into a pretty fancy, professional looking poem, the first thing to do is pick the keywords and then hit enter and break it up in that way. Okay, because whatever you put at the end gets the emphasis. It gets a little pause and it gets a little white space around it, which makes it stand out. It's like a spotlight, So that's the step we're going to go through for this assignment. The first step, I said last time, was to pick your subject and compare it to different things, metaphors, similes, whatever. And we saw a couple poems that did that. And the second step is to make sure the end of each line is a big, juicy, unique, important word. It should not be of, the, me, with, them, It should not be little common filler words, prepositions, stuff like that. It should be like the stuff that would be highlighted or underlined, or like the content. Okay, so that's it. Check out the poems, check out the post, check out the instructions that I write on there. And then today we're going to go through that. You're not writing a new poem. Okay, we're going to take one and take it through a couple different steps. But if you wrote something last time, well, now you can have another criteria to check it. And if you want to change other stuff too, if you had an idea, you know, you wrote a poem last time and you're like, oh, now I know how to make it better. You sort of thought of a different version. Great, you can do that too. But that's what we're going to do is take our poem through a couple steps, and by the end, it will have all the stuff that makes a poem, you know. So even if you start with sort of a blob of ideas, it'll be shaped into something good. You know that SpongeBob where it's like a giant block of marble and he just goes hits it once and then it's like Michelangelo's David. It's sort of the idea that like the marble has the statue inside of it. You know, if you just write a big blob of words, it has the poem in there, and you just have to find it. So that's the idea, and I've rambled enough, so I'm going to hit pause on the recording and get this stuff going. Thanks.